heal as a team, we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen, believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's the team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Welcome to the show, guys. It's Down the Rabbit Hole. Today's July 10th, 2011. Today I'm joined by my good friend, Steve Stars, who doesn't really need an introduction to my audience because he's been on my show multiple times. We've done epic hours of radio together, and two of our best, I think, shows were on the Titanic and on the Lincoln assassination. You guys can go check them out on YouTube. Steve's here today, though, to talk about something that not many people know about, and it's the truth about the AIDS. Well, I shouldn't say the AIDS. I was going to say the AIDS virus, but I had to stop myself like mid-thought. It's the truth about what AIDS is and the myth of HIV and everything else. So, Steve, go ahead and tell the audience what's going on.
Great. Well, it's good to be back with you, Popeye, and I do appreciate your audience and you especially because we have had some great shows, and today's a good one. I got involved with this in the early 90s. It's coming up on 20 years ago now, believe it or not. I began to, ask some serious questions about what was going on because, I figured something was really screwy about this whole thing. Why was all this Hollywood song and dance going on about a disease, And I, at that time, began to understand that there were a group of scientists who were questioning the virus AIDS hypothesis. Now, we're not AIDS deniers. That's a trick of nomenclature that they use to try to categorize us, as hard, sympathetic Holocaust deniers. You know the terminology about Popeye. But no, we are not AIDS deniers. We are HIV questioners. We are HIV deniers in the fact that we think that all the academic evidence in epidemiology in terms of studying the retrovirus itself prove that HIV cannot possibly be the cause of AIDS. And we can go into great detail on that. We've got a couple of minutes up. We can tell you a little bit about how this whole thing came about. It was a press conference. This virus was not created in a laboratory by some crazy biowarfare scientist friends. If it was, he got fired, because the damn thing doesn't work. This was created in a boardroom. This was created as an outgrowth of a frustrated cancer research program that had gone nowhere, that was slashed by Reagan in 1980 for good reasons, because it wasn't doing anything. It was a waste of money. And so you have people like Robert Gallo, who found a way to make that one of those retroviruses that we used to study in cancer. Now it's the cause of AIDS. Yeah, they made this huge jump across the ravine of logic, to land this white elephant virus program in a whole new federally funded ideal that we were going to stop 29 old diseases that have been around for, all time in memorabilia, with some way to stop them all by, fighting a retrovirus, which is supposed to cause this acquired immune deficiency syndrome, and therefore the syndrome itself encompasses all these diseases, many, by the way, which aren't even opportunistic infections. There's some like Kaposi sarcoma, and, dementia, a few of these others that we could talk about a little bit. But the whole point is this, that they created this massive fraud, and we're going to tell you a little bit about how not only this fraud is dangerous to AIDS patients, but how it's killing you as well by it's robbing you just blind for money. They've spent probably, estimated, I don't know the exact number, but I would say probably close to $350 billion with a B dollars on this thing. I mean, 2 years of the Iraqi war is what they wasted, that kind of money and funding, and all that scientific talent. But anyhow, I don't know how much time we got left, Popeye. If we got enough time for that clip, we'll play the clip of the notorious press conference where the AIDS virus was created, not in the laboratory, at a press conference.
Yeah, I'll play the. It's about a minute and 2 seconds here. I'll play this little section of clip, Steve, and tell me if this is what you were talking about.
Okay. On April 23rd, 1984, Secretary of Health and Human Services Margaret Heckler and Robert Gallo called a press conference together that would involve the United States Department of Health in what critics claim would become the biggest medical scientific blunder of all time.
First, the probable cause of AIDS has been found, a variant of a known human cancer virus called HTLV-3.
With HTLV-3, Gallo's white elephant virus program made the jump from the cause of cancer to become the cause of AIDS and the target of billions of dollars in research funds. Simultaneously, as the press conference was going on, the blood test used to detect HIV was being patented, which would earn the U.S. Department of Health over $100 million a year and large financial kickbacks to Robert Gallo. The AIDS industry was born, and the U.S. government was now fully invested. Naively, Secretary Heckler predicted that a vaccine would be ready for testing by 1986.
And that's a clip from your movie, HIV equals AIDS, Fact or Fraud, correct?
Right. Yeah, it's actually the press conference itself. We actually acquired the footage because you can see that all the microphones there. There must have been 100 microphones in front of Margaret Heckler, who was a complete ditz.
Well, you could tell it was a huge press conference, so they obviously made phone calls to get people there.
Yeah, it's what they did, exactly. And because you remember, this was like 6 months before the election in 1984. Gay men were in the streets shouting. They'd already been terrorized by the idea of an infectious germ going around the bathhouse scene, causing all these AIDS to develop this acquired immune deficiency syndrome. But, the funny thing about this, not funny, but the ironic and actually obliviously stupid thing about all this, Popeye, is that, the Centers for Disease Control had already taken a look at this and ascertained that this was primarily a drug-related, very limited risk group of people who are getting these diseases. It was not an epidemic. They already knew this in the early 80s, okay? But remember, we talked about that money from the cancer research. You got a lot of retrovirologists out of work, all these people looking for new employment. So they were shifting the entire virus cancer research program into the AIDS virus research program is what was happening. And this was going to be a big boondoggle, probably, as we say in the video, the biggest medical scientific disaster or blunder of all time. Of course, you can measure that against all kinds of diseases, of course, but this one is so specific that you have to say there was no reason why this thing should have ever gotten started. And so that's only a portion of our video. You can go to our website at aidsfraudvideo.com if they want to, and they can see the entire thing online, or they can get a DVD. But our key thing is to just keep informing people. And I think some of your audience may know already that we have Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. We have people like you. Bob Tuskin's done a lot of great shows, bobtuskin.com. com. He's done a lot of great interviews with this. You've done some things with this too, Popeye. We appreciate that. George Whitehurst Barry. Gary Null has made several great films on this. So we're all catching on. It's a little late, but the fact is... there's
another good movie about this called House of Numbers, right? Because I remember, I think that's another one you sent me to look at. You can see it on Netflix.
Right. That's a great film too. House of Numbers.
Stay right there, Steve. We're going to break. Everybody, we'll be back in a few minutes. We got to go pay the bills, but stay tuned. You don't want to miss the rest of this 2-hour interview with Steve Stars about HIV, AIDS, and the fraud that's been perpetrated on the world. We'll be right back.